Whatever fighter I knock out in UFC 5, I will go watch live in real life. And by the end of this video, I will rate the seats, the event, and more. Right, as I'm recording this, UFC Manchester's coming up, UFC 304. And if you didn't know, I'm from Ireland. It's across the water. It is perfect. Looking at this card, we have Aspinall versus Blaydes, Edwards versus Belal, Paddy versus Green, Allen versus Giga Chikadze. They're all the main fighters, so to decide who I knocked out, I put them all on a wheel. And we landed on Paddy Pimblett. I'm sorry, Paddy, you're getting slapped. Poor guy got hit with a rolling thunder. And speaking of sleeping, this event's going to be on at like 6 a.m. so it's going to be a tough one. So I went online, got tickets, and because we're rating the seats, I spent $500 on them. We're going to be seeing if it's actually worth it to spend that much on a UFC ticket. Plus, this is going to be my first time ever at a UFC event. We have to make this special. And if you are a regular viewer of the channel, you know there is one man I love and would die to see. That man is Dana fucking White. Dana is a channel hero. He's a legend to the UFC. So I want to see him in person so badly. This is something I want to tick off on this list. It was finally the day and we headed to Manchester, England. I did arrive at like 10 a.m. and the fights weren't until like fucking 11 p.m. But while I was on the flight, I did actually wonder, would Bruce Buffer be there? Sometimes he isn't. Something on everyone's bucket list should be to see It's Time live. That is one of the goals of this video. I need to see that. And what other fighters could we potentially see at the event? This is when I start getting nervous. I didn't know what to expect. Now, of course, I wasn't going to UFC alone, so in the evening, I met up with Naz UFC. Yes, I met him in person. He was still wearing his headset when I saw him. But if you somehow don't know Naz, he's one of the best UFC 5 players in the world, so if anything went wrong, he could just whack the controller out and we would be fine. He could press all the buttons and yeah. By this time, the sky, it was getting dark. We were heading to the event. It was UFC time. They had merch there, but Jesus Christ, it was bad. Like, it was on another level of bad. But this leads up to the moment I would see the UFC octagon, the crowd, the 3 a.m. atmosphere for the first time in person. Up the stairway, it was pitch black, but when we got up, opened the door, it was there. This arena looked insane. The crowd was a bit asleep because it was really late. It was around midnight when we got there, so yeah. But the way the octagon looked was mad. Mick Parkin's fight was just starting, so we sat down and he won in round 1 by KO. This was the first fight, Mick Parkin getting a round 1 knockout, that I'll ever see live. It was the first one. We did miss the first fight of the night, one of the Irish fighters, but she did get the win, so it was all good. And for celebrity fighters showing up that actually aren't fighting, if you know me, my favorite fighter is a man called Alexander Volkanovski, and there he was in person watching the fights. There could have been any fighter but Volkanovski that I would love to see. He's my favorite. This is also a clip of him just sitting on his own. Poor Volk. Juliana Pena and MVP also showed up, which was cool. The next fight, Sam Patterson beat Kiefer, one of our Irish fighters. And yeah, I kind of had to cheer the English guy on. I wanted the Irish obviously to win, but I was undercover. I heard some people shouting around me like, fuck the Irish guy and stuff like that. So I was kind of like, yeah, go England. Please don't beat me up. Subscribe to Nebality. Get me to 100k subs. These fights were crazy though. Modesta, oh, that's a hard name. Versus March, ooh, that's another hard name. This was a crazy fight though. He landed a question mark kick, like kind of well rocked backed against the kid. I don't even know what this was. It was awesome. It was like right here in the octagon. Like at this point, I didn't capture it unfortunately, but yeah, it was like here. Just seeing the fighters get dropped in person was wild though. And later on this card, we have heavyweight title fights, elite kickboxers, and more. This was gonna get crazy. After watching these first few fights, I spotted the commentators. We had Michael Bisping, John Anik, and DC. The UFC 5 alter ego vote, I picked DC and he won. We got to see the man himself in person. Megan Levy was there too, which is cool. It was mad seeing them all work in person and you could see them with the camera and it was just cool. Leading into the prelims, we had Micaiah versus Manel Kape, who hated each other going into this fight. Jesus, they did not like each other. There was a brawl in the ring before and this led up all into it, just the most boring fight. Micaiah tried pulling down Manel Kape's shorts and then he got kicked from the UFC while he was at it. I do hope him the best in the future and hope that he isn't actually pulling other men's shorts down for his new job. I got to see the meatball Molly McCann. She did take a bad knee to the meatballs, then unfortunately lost the decision. It was a great fight. I am a big fan of Molly and Paddy, so her getting the loss was sad, but fair play to Bruna Brazil. She did great. It was a great fight. Keelan Lawhorn is another fighter I wanted to see in person. He lives close to me. I'm not going to say much on that. He did lose also. It was unfortunate again, but hopefully both of them can come back stronger. And it was time for the main card time. Yep. And for our list, we still had to see Paddy. We still had to see Bruce Buffer say it's time. We knew he was there, so it was just a matter of waiting for it. But there was still no sign of Dana White. I could not see him anywhere. I was getting really worried. I was starting to think Dana White wasn't here. I wouldn't get to see his bald head in person. I was heartbroken. But yeah, into the main card, we had Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. And the sound of these guys' kicks, I'm not joking you, was like just that, yeah. Arnold Allen got the win, and that did mean we were getting closer and closer to seeing Paddy, though, the man we KO'd in UFC 5. As I said, I'm a big fan of his, so I was getting nervous. I was also trying not to fall asleep, because by this point it was like fucking 4 a.m. We had Robocop and Duncan next. Robocop got the decision. It was a pretty alright fight, but they left the arena, they cleaned up, and it was time. The lights went down, and ladies and gentlemen, the music started. Paddy the Baddy was walking out to take on Bobby Green. I mean, excuse me, King Green. My bad, Bobby. I mean, King. Anyways, this place woke up. Everyone was going crazy. And there he was, Paddy the Baddy in person with his cornrows or whatever the fuck they're called, in his little orange trunks as well. This man had such a good performance. He went on to submit King Green in the first round, and I was going crazy. You can hear me screaming armbar at poor Naz, who was like half asleep. He had done it though in the first round. What a legend this man is. So our goal of seeing Paddy was achieved. From being slept in UFC 5 to sleeping King Green in real life. What a journey this was. But it wasn't over. We still had 2 title fights to go. And we still hadn't seen our hero Dana White. I couldn't see his beautiful bald head anywhere. But up next, it was another fighter that I love. It was title fight time. Tom Aspinall come out, and this fight was insane. It lived up to the hype. Tommy Aspinall got it done in 1 round. I did catch the ending part of the finish, so it was crazy seeing everyone react. The crowd went wild. He retained his belt, but wait, who was gonna put the belt around him? And that's when I saw him. He was there. Dana White, my hero. He was there. We have been through the toughest times with this man in UFC 5. We have made him the greatest fighter of all time. And there he was right in fucking front of me, putting the belt around Tommy Aspinall. Bruce announced Tom as the winner. He got his belt. Look at this footage I got. It was crazy. But Dana White was there. I got to see Dana. When I look around, I still see a glare in my eyes how shiny his beautiful bald head was. But this brought us on to the main event of the evening. And we got to see Bruce Buffer say, I'm not gonna do it. It's time. I got to see him do it in person. It was mad. Honestly, this was one of the main highlights of the night, or well, morning, because it was like 7 a.m. Congrats to Belal though for just slamming Leon's head on the canvas. He got it done. And like I said at the beginning, rating the events and the seats, I'm giving the seats a 9 out of 10. The view was crazy. It was so surreal seeing all these fighters so close up. And then for the event, I'm gonna give it a 6. Bit of a lackluster main event. A lot of people did leave. Seeing Tom and Paddy win, who I love both of them, it was crazy. Unfortunately, some fighters did lose that I like as well, but honestly something that killed it was the time. This is what it looked like outside after the event. But yeah, this was a sick experience. I appreciate you guys for watching. This makes this possible. We're closing in on 100k subs, so if you want me to do this again, subscribe to the channel and I'll do it. But next time we might go to the US, Australia, Abu Dhabi. You never know where this wheel could land. Thanks for watching again, lads, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.